Please stand for the posting of colors.
Low shoulder, carry. Prepare to post. Go. Dress. Go. Uniform. Personnel. Present arms. Detail. Ready? Pace. Honor guard. Out on the tap. Forward. Mark.
You may be seated.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you all for being here to honor our fallen brother, Danny Cook. I'm Britt Sipe, lead pastor here at Sunridge Community Church and Division Chief, San Bernardino County Fire Department, retired. We're honored as a church to host this service on behalf of Danny's family, CAL FIRE, and Riverside County Fire Department. And of course, we're especially honored because Danny made the ultimate sacrifice by giving his life literally in service to our community here in Riverside County. Now CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Chief Robert Fish will tell us about Danny's career.
Daniel Cook was born November 19, 1980 in Orange County, California. Danny began his distinguished fire service career with CAL FIRE in 2006 as a seasonal firefighter for San Diego, serving at both White Star and Rincon fire stations. In 2008, He relocated to Indiana to pursue paramedic training, honing his skills to better serve. In 2014, Danny returned to Southern California and rejoined CAL FIRE, advancing his career in the Riverside unit as a Firefighter 2 paramedic. He served with pride and professionalism in Lake Elsinore's Battalion 2 until transferring to Station 76 in the city of Menifee. In 2019, he made his first transfer to his beloved Station 90 in the city of Paris, a place that would hold special meaning for him. In 2022, Danny was promoted to Fire Apparatus Engineer, where he served on various relief assignments and at Station 3. Then, in 2024, he was able to once again return to his beloved Station 90 in the city of Paris to serve on Quint 90. Beyond the uniform, Danny's greatest pride and joy was his family. He was a devoted father to his children, Christian, Jason, Kavika, Karen, Shane, and Aaron. As a truly hands-on parent, he was deeply involved from school events and sports to the simple joy of everyday moments. Danny will be remembered for the simple pleasures that defined him: his love of coffee, his quick wit, his knack for telling a great story, and his infectious humor. His warmth, dedication, and selflessness in his craft left an indelible mark on all who knew him. On behalf of the County of Riverside and the Riverside County Fire Department, we extend our deepest gratitude to Fire Apparatus Engineer Daniel Cook for his service. The citizens of Riverside County are safer and stronger because of Engineer Cook's contributions to our community. His loss leaves an irreplaceable void in our ranks and in our hearts. Danny's life was one of profound purpose and service. His legacy will endure in the lives he touched and the communities he protected. Godspeed, Fire Apparatus Engineer Daniel Cook.
Thank you, Chief. You know, at times of trial, struggle, or uncertainty, I find myself drawn to Scripture to remind myself of what God has said is true. I would like to read a couple of scriptures to you. First of all, from King David in Psalm 34, at a time in David's life of particular pain, he wrote, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and save those who are crushed in spirit." And then Jesus, in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 11, said to the disciples, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I'll give you rest." Danny's wife, Joanne, asked me to read a few scriptures as well. First of all, again from Jesus in John 15, where he said, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." And then again, King David in Psalm 71, where David laments, "Though you have made me see troubles, many and bitter, you will restore my life again from the depths of the earth, and you will again bring me up. You will increase my honor and comfort me once more." And then the words of the Apostle Paul to the church at Thessalonica, "We always thank God for all of you and continue to mention you in our prayers. We remember before our God and Father your work produced by faith, your labor prompted by love, and your endurance inspired by hope in our Lord Jesus Christ." And last, again, from the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 13, he says, "And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." If you're a person of faith, I invite you to join me in a simple prayer. Help us, God, this morning. Focus on that which enables us to keep going. Remind us that time will never erase the memories we have of Danny. Allow us to smile, cry, or even chuckle at those memories. Remind us that Danny is now at rest with you, his body made whole, and his soul restored. Remind us that nothing surprises you. For family, loved ones, friends, and co-workers who are grieving, Make your presence tangible moment by moment. Remind us that there is no place that we can go that your Spirit does not accompany us. Enable us to bear sorrow without bitterness. Give us brave faith today. Shine the light of hope in its time. Cover us in your grace and love. And transform our pain into compassion and love for others. Amen. During this next portion, we're going to have a series of speakers come up and tell us about Danny from different vantage points. And first up is going to be Director and Fire Chief of CAL FIRE, Joe Tyler. And I would ask that all of the other speakers would just follow in succession as they are on the program without introduction. Thank you, Chief.
Pastor Sipe, thank you for opening your house of worship and prayer so we could honor Danny and the sacrifices he and his family are going through and have gone through. Well, good afternoon. My name is Joe Tyler. I am the Director and Fire Chief here at CAL FIRE. And as the department's fire chief and the rest of our executive staff, there's no sound more unsettling than the phone ringing late at night or early in the morning. When that phone rings during those times, your heart sinks. You hope, against all odds, that the call is going to bring good news. But more often than not, you know what that reality is going to be. It's either a major incident, a critically injured firefighter, or God forbid, the loss of one of our own. And this is how the early morning started on December 31st, 2025. I'm certain that the same anxiety lives in the hearts of the spouses, parents, children, brothers, sisters, and loved ones every time your firefighter goes to work. A line of duty death leaves a silence that cannot be filled. The station feels different. The battalion feels different. The fire ground feels different. And the fire service, this family, is never quite the same. Today, as we gather with heavy hearts, united by grief, respect, and love, I ask that you take a moment to look around the room. And the number of people here speaks volumes about the impact Danny Cook had on others. It is powerful, and it is inspiring. And I thank you all for being here today. While I did not have the opportunity to work directly with Danny, the word shared by those who knew him best tells his story clearly. And I got to tell you something that I didn't realize, that I did not even put in the script here of what I was going to say today, is I am so thankful that we actually got the mustache policy across the finish line for Danny to enjoy it. His peers speak of his dedication to the fire service, but even more so, they speak of his deep love for his wife, his children, and his family. Joanne, Aaron, Shane, Jason, Christian, Karen, Kavika. There are no words that can ease the pain you are feeling today. Please know this: your husband and your father was deeply respected, fiercely trusted, and genuinely loved by all those who served alongside him. I'm told he spoke of you often. You were his pride, his motivation, and the reason he pushed himself every day to be better. His legacy lives on through you, and this department will never forget that you are and will always be part of our family. To Rowena and brothers David and Mark, and to your extended family, you entrusted us with someone special. We are grateful for the values you instilled in him, his strength, his integrity, and his courage. Those qualities shape the firefighter we honor today and will live on in the story shared here and for generations to come. And I want to take just a moment, I want to speak about that December 31st, 2025 day, the final call. When Danny experienced a medical emergency while engaged in firefighting operations, he was doing what he loved, what every firefighter loves to do, fighting fire. When he went down, his crew on Quint 90, Captain Anthony Gomez, firefighter Jake Eves, and firefighter Trevor Patterson, along with the rest of the first alarm assignment, responded instantly and without hesitation, without fear, with precision and determination that comes from countless hours of training and an unbreakable bond as a family. They fought for him with everything that they had. They did what firefighters do for one another. They refused to give up. And that fight continued to Riverside University Hospital, where the doctors, nurses, and medical staff worked tirelessly, exhausting every option and pushing every limit, showing the same professionalism, urgency, and compassion we expect ourselves in this profession. While the outcome was not what any of us would have prayed for, and I was receiving messages every 5 minutes, please know this, that no effort was spared. Danny was surrounded by people who cared and deeply fought hard for his life. And to Battalion Chief Jay Allen, the incident commander that morning, man, you did everything right. Never, ever second guess yourself. Your training, your leadership, the decisions you made from the moment the Mayday was called gave Danny and his crew every possible chance. Thank you for leading on what has likely been, thus far, the most difficult day of your career. Chief Fish, our Riverside County family, CAL FIRE Local 2881, your honor guard that is just top-notch, as well as the partner agencies that are here, and the hundreds of people behind the scenes. Thank you for all that you did that day and that you continue every day to support the Cook family. The road to healing will be long and there will be difficult days ahead. But know this, Danny's family will always be wrapped in the love and support of this department. We will stand with you, we will remember with you, and we will honor him by taking care of one another. May he rest in peace.
I don't know if I should bend down or, I think you can hear me. My name is Mark Kramer. I'm a retired assistant chief from Orange County Fire Department. I was the operations chief and a longtime family friend of the Cooks. In fact, we knew Daniel when he was still in the womb. I have to apologize. I didn't know I was speaking until I read the program this morning. So, lucky for you, it'll probably be pretty short, and I'll try not to ramble on. But just to give you a little bit about Daniel. Daniel was basically a miracle, or a medical miracle. He was a child that was born with an issue that few survived. But he did. But that kind of helped him, if you will, because he knew that his life was precious every moment of the day. He knew that he would face the world basically with no fear, because he already had that death come across his face once before. So he lived every minute, you know, as it was his last, if you will. As a child, he knew no fear. We would go water skiing as a family, group of families, if you will, and Daniel was out in front of everybody. He was one who really liked to take life and grab it and run with it. I'm probably the reason that, or one of the reasons that Daniel became a firefighter. Just because we were a big family, if you will. We had 3 families, that had been real close, and even though we weren't blood related, we call ourselves family. And everybody in those families have firefighters in their family. Talk about Daniel's, for those who have worked with him, his quick wit and stuff. He got that from his father. His dad basically passed that on to Daniel, and it was a real gift because he had a wit. You know, Daniel had that wit that he could come off with a line real quick and make you laugh. He would always be the one who, in a group, people would congregate around because he was the guy that kind of kept you entertained. But what kind of sets Daniel apart from a lot of individuals, and it probably sets all of you apart that wear the uniform from a lot of individuals, is Daniel had a servant's heart. He was one that cared about people. He wanted to help people. When Daniel started as a seasonal, he enjoyed being a firefighter, but he had that aspiration to be a paramedic because that's where the hands-on and really helping people. And he did that for several years, and he did it well. And when you talk to him, and as firefighters do, we kind of talk about amongst ourselves, you know, some of the good times, but some of the bad times. And you could tell from Daniel that he really enjoyed helping people. It was his life, if you will, to help. The interesting thing about Daniel, he was a paramedic, and that he loved. But he always tried to move to stations where he would be busy. Apparently one year, his medic unit was the busiest medic unit in Riverside County. And so he always went where work was. And when he had the opportunity to go to 90 and work on the truck, that was a dream come true for him. He was able to basically be with a busy unit, an active unit, one that really, as a firefighter, you feel that when you end your shift, you kind of accomplished something, that you were there for someone's worst day. Daniel was starting a new chapter in his life this last couple of years. He found a young woman that he wanted to marry, and Rowena is my wife's, or one of my wife's best friends. So they talked, and Rowena called and said, "You won't believe it, Daniel found this wonderful girl." And her name is Joanne, same as my wife's. And it's one of those things, as a firefighter's wife, you know that he's going to be gone, or your mate is going to be gone the day of your disaster. You know, how many times has a disaster happened at home, and who's there to handle it? The wife. The significant other, if you will, because you're never really there when it hits at home. Well, the other thing that we're not really capable of dealing with is the death, if you will, making those notifications. Unfortunately, in my position, I had to give death notifications to, you know, family members and such on our department. It's not a simple thing to do. And it's hard for the families to kind of grab at the moment what has actually happened. And, you know, looking at or dealing or meet or with Rowena and Joanne and such, when it happens, it's kind of you call it an out-of-body experience because you really don't know how to deal with it. But you know that Daniel was a Christian, and he was solid in his faith. So we know where Daniel is, and he's just starting another chapter. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Cook. I'm Dan's youngest brother. Today we have heard, or will hear, how great Dan was as a father, a son, a firefighter, and a friend. Now, on behalf of my other brother David and I will be speaking today about how great he was as a brother and the role he played. There are a lot of things to say about Dan. But I promised Mom I would say nice things. Older siblings have a responsibility to their younger siblings. It's a responsibility they didn't ask for, but are required to carry it. They have a role to play. That responsibility is to be the role model, to set the tone, to show you how to behave in the family, sort of. What makes Dad tick? How to navigate life, since they're a step ahead of you. They are your partner in crime, the one that eggs you on. The one that looks out for Mom and Dad to make sure they're not around while you do something stupid because they're the ones that convince you it was a good idea and be super cool. Then they are the ones that cover your mouth so Mom and Dad won't hear you cry because you got hurt doing something stupid they told you to do as they shout, "You're fine, stop crying. This is why we don't let you play with us." They're also the ones you get to pin the blame on for the thing you did because you know they would get in trouble and not you. That was Dan as our brother. He was like a brother to many here today. For his closest friends, he was their brother. For his fellow firefighters, regardless of station, he was like their brother. And for those who had the privilege to know Dan, you knew two things. You either liked him or tolerated him. He was either this lovable baboon of a character that just made your day better, or that guy who spoke way too frankly and quoted too many movie lines. During this time, with friends, family, and fellow firefighters, we have heard story after story about Dan. His accomplishments, his cooking, how he helped you, how he made you laugh, and how he loved. Regarding stories, Dan could always tell a great one. Anytime he shared a story, he spoke with great fervor and detail. Stories about places he went, things he did, stories about fun adventures he had with friends, forgetting to leave out the legal parts. Stories about fires he got to put out with his crew, what it's like driving the truck, running the hoses, people he helped, new training, why he had to throw away another pair of underwear. Sorry, Mom. I know I kid, but that's what brothers are for. But that was Dan. Full of life and fun, loud and unapologetic, the troublemaker and adventurer. But because of that, because of how he was and what he did in all our stories, he will live forever on in our memories. And that's how you leave a legacy. And he left a big one. For David and me, in our story, he was our hero. And although we behaved like typical brothers, picking on each other, calling each other names, throwing things, wrestling, fighting, you name it, we still love each other. We still looked up to him. He was always there for us, always egging us on, always looking out for us, always protecting us. But that was his finest role as a brother, as our hero, a responsibility he didn't ask for, but one he carried with great pride. He lived a hero and died a hero. Dan, you were a true hero and an amazing older brother. David and I will forever cherish the adventures we had and the stories you gave us to share with our kids about the things you did that made you our hero. Now, in honor of Dan and a proper sign-off to add for one of his favorite movies, Yippee-ki-yay, Danny Cook. Yippee-ki-yay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jason. I'm Dan's firstborn son. I kind of want to tell y'all some of the lessons that my dad instilled in me, because he was very young when I was born, and we kind of had to grow up together. And I think if you guys leave here today with anything, it should be some of these memories and, some of these values. I can see today in this room just how many lives my father has touched. And I'm thankful that my relationship with my father, it being complicated and him not always being there, he was with you guys, influencing this family that I now have, this room full of people that he knew and he loved so much. He was the greatest firefighter I had ever met. When he bring me around firehouses and stuff like that, he was the best one. Also the most stubborn, but that was different. I can't count how many obstacles that my father had to face and overcome to do what he called his dream job. I can recall there were many people that told him, it's impossible. You'll never do it. You're not built for it. But to those people, I would like to say, you were wrong. I would also like to thank each and every one of you, because your doubt fueled the fire that kept my dad going. It built up in him, and that's why he did it. I hope we can all learn from that don't give up on your dreams. My dad never did. If he said he was going to do something, he did it. He was in it 100%, never less. I know that he always wanted to be the biggest, baddest, strongest guy that there was, and I can't even begin to count how many times that me and him would go back and forth on, who was stronger. Oh, well, he hit 405 in deadlift, and I hit 650 on leg press, and it was fun, but from that competition, I realized that he was teaching me his morals. For a very, very long time, both of us had the same phrase written on our mirror that we would look at before we went to the gym. And the phrase was, be a monster, but control it. Now, for a very long time, I never knew what that meant. I just thought it was cool. I was like, heck yeah, same as my dad. But I figured out that he was teaching me something. He was teaching me to be the biggest guy, the strongest guy, the big guy on the block, but also to control that, to be humble, to know just how strong you are and use it to your advantage, but not to overshadow other people. Rein in that ego and control your temper, which both of us had to learn. It was something that I inherited from him, and we both struggled, but we got it eventually. I wanted to share a couple of my favorite memories of my dad with all of you. Him teaching me to ride dirt bikes. He was so gung-ho about me learning how to ride. He built this awesome green Kawasaki that he then changed to his favorite color. And he put my birth date on it. It's the same bike that I learned how to ride on. But he taught me that it was okay to have fun. The instance of that was the first time that he took me riding. He flew up into the air and didn't quite land it, crashed real good, and he broke his collarbone. But not an ounce of pain, not a wince, nothing. He got up, picked that bike up, said, let's load it in the car, and that was it. I've never seen my dad truly cry just to cry. It was controlled. It was always, everything had a purpose with him. And I think he was teaching me that it's okay to live life so far on the edge and to have fun and not to be afraid to try something, even if it seems like a crazy, dumb idea. So if you leave here today, I want you to leave with that new wisdom. I would also like to share with you guys a small story that you may not know about my dad's nickname. Many of you know him as Engineer Cookie, but you don't know where the name Cookie comes from. So that nickname comes from his grandfather, who was a legendary detective in Anaheim. My dad spent many of summers over there, and he even lived with the legendary Cookie for 2 years. I believe that that title meant more to him than any person in this room could even possibly conceive. It was an honor and a title that he wore with pride. So I thank every one of you for awarding him that title that he worked so hard for. A title that meant perseverance, bravery, and yes, maybe just a little bit of stubbornness. That kind of runs in the family. As my nanny would say, a stubborn cook boy? Never. They were all angels. So today, as we leave here, let's remember Daniel Cookie Cook as a man who has shown all of us what true dedication, perseverance is, and a true man that has shown me and my younger siblings that struggle and pain are necessary to forge ourselves into the best that we can possibly be and to not be afraid to live a little on the edge. He was a man that loved his family and knew that nothing could break the bond of the Cook family. Rest in peace, Dad. I love you, and I will miss you every day, but I will cherish all of those memories.
Thank you for being here to honor my husband. I am so proud. He would be so humble. Please bear with me, I have a lot to say. Today I stand before you with a heart that is broken. I miss my husband so much. I long for one more kiss, hug, or something funny he would say or do. I will never forget the day that I got the knock on my door, praying that it was not real or hoping that they were just there to tell me that he was just hurt and needed me by his side. But that did not happen. I am married to a firefighter, yes. But more than that, I am married to a man who lived his life in service, both at work and at home. And it is very true. He has a servant's heart. A man who believed deeply that God placed him here, not for comfort, but for purpose. I remember him always saying, "I'm not a hero, babe." But I told him, "You are absolutely a hero to the community, to me, and your family." He was incredibly humble about his hard work. Which I learned in hindsight how much firemen do. I think because he took such pride in what he did in order to have the best outcome for both people, the people he was helping and his fire crew that he worked side by side with. no matter what station he was at. He loved Station 90. We met at Station 90. He left for a while because he wanted to be an engineer. And then he was sent to a few different stations, and then he's like, I gotta go back to Station 90, babe. The busiest, craziest station. But he wanted to go back. We often said that we would both retire as a firefighter and a teacher in Temecula. But I knew my husband would not leave his crew at 90 and all those crazy calls that they would go on. Thank you to Station 90 for taking such good care of my husband. He loved you guys so much, as he would tell me all the things you did to keep the station fun in spite of the crazy or difficult calls. Danny would often tell me they would have to regroup after some calls and just stand outside and vent or just support each other. I want to add a little side note that I didn't include in my notes, is that don't hide your pain, Station 90, and whoever else needs to hear this, don't hide your pain. Don't hide behind it. Share it with your family. Share it with your spouses. Share it with your station, because we all need to heal. Thank you to all the firefighters and other stations that have also welcomed and loved my crazy husband with open arms. Wild. He was so wild and hilarious, and mustache out of compliance. And he kind of chuckled like, yeah, they want me to fix it, but Captain Cravon, he would trim his mustache for you only. Absolutely. He was like, I'll do it for him. Seriously, Captain Cravon, he respected you so much. But when it came down to business, my husband did his job 150%. Every shift began the same way. A kiss goodbye, quiet prayer as he would kneel by my bedside or softly lean over to tell me that he loved me. He did this without fail. And a promise that God would bring him home. I started this saying a couple of years ago, telling him, please come home to me, baby. And he said, I'll always come home to you. Just this time was different. I have to come to him. There were days that I hugged him tight and days that I was too tired and only gave him a kiss. On the days that we happened to be leaving to work on the same day, my husband called me on the road to talk to me the entire way until either I or he made it to work, which was about 40 minutes. So we would just talk until we both made it to work. He did this every time. Even though we had just spent, a few days together before his next shift and last shift. We both prayed and believed that he would always come home. This time, God answered that prayer in a way that I never imagined. But I know this. God did not abandon my husband. He called him home. God does not ask us to be perfect. He asks us to be real. He will hold your pain. He will hold your wounds, carry you. To the fire wives, fire partners, and the fire husbands, in light of what I've had to endure, the unimaginable, please, I urge you, don't let an argument go unfixed. Don't let your pride get in the way. No task or list of to-dos around the house is worth losing 1 minute to love on your firefighter. Say the things that you want to say. You may not get the chance. Please make up. Danny and I did get to have a really good conversation the night before. Well, actually, it was just a few hours before it happened. And we were talking about 2026 and what we were going to do and all the plans. And then we just kept saying, I love you. A lot. Like we didn't want to hang up. We both ended up saying, okay, we're tired. He said, I want you to come to the station tomorrow for New Year's Eve. And I was like, I would love to. Danny never wanted a minute to pass without us making up, which I did not always do, and would do anything if I could change that. Visit your firefighters at the station. Give them a quick hug or kiss just because. It means more to them than we will ever know. Lastly, marriage is the highest relationship we can foster. Take your vows seriously. Never waver. Keep God in your marriage. Surrender to what is true, right, and noble. And in the same scripture that Pastor Britt said, greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends, which is of all my firefighters too. My husband didn't just believe those words, he lived them. And on the day he died in the line of duty, he fulfilled them in the most sacred way possible. When the tones dropped, and there were plenty of times that I was on the phone with him and he waited to see what kind of call it was, he said, okay, babe, I gotta go. Call you when I get back. He went without hesitation, without fear, without thinking of himself. He ran toward the fire because that's who he was. He trusted God with his life, just as he trusted God in his death. If there wasn't a hot lid in a while, which I learned means structure fire, he would tell me, babe, I'm itching, I gotta cut some holes. I gotta get it with the boys. He loved rescuing people, yes, even stupid people who cause their own consequences. But if it meant using his tools to cut open a car or to get someone out or going into a smoke-filled, fiery home to rescue, he did it with all of his heart. At home, he was my strength when I was weak, my calm when the fear crept in. He was the man who prayed over our family, loved us with his whole heart, carried the weight of his calling quietly and humbly. He never called himself a hero, but heaven surely does. He just told me a couple of months ago, babe, this is what I was meant to do. He said it multiple times, but most recently again, this is what I was meant to do. I could not have done any other career but be a fireman. Living a firefighter means learning to live with constant surrender, surrender to fear, surrender to uncertainty, surrender to God. And today, I surrender him to Jesus. He gave me Danny to love him. But I will carry on what Danny has taught me. He's taught me so much. Though my heart aches with pain, and I want God to take my pain away, because I'm broken, lost, and confused, I hold on to the promise in Psalms 34. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. I feel God carrying me when I can't stand on my own. I'm almost done. My husband's life did not end in tragedy, it ended in purpose. His last act was an act of love. His final breath was given in service, and because of that, his life will echo through eternity. His amazing Station 90 crew will also carry on his legacy, and I will forever pray for and love every firefighter who puts others before themselves every day. I believe with every part of my soul that I will see him again. That one day there will be no more fires, no more sirens, and no more danger, only reunion. Until that day, I will honor my husband by living as he did, bravely, courageously, humbly, in service. There is no limits to his love. To my love, thank you for choosing courage. Thank you for choosing service. Thank you for choosing me, our kids, our family. You showed it in action, not just in words, every day. Please, God, tell my husband how much he is deeply honored and loved for all he has done while he was here on earth. Help our family and the fire family to heal. Rest now, my love. Well done, good and faithful servant.
For those who don't know me, my name is Kavika. I'm Danny's stepson. I'm not here because I have all the right words. I'm up here because there was a man in my life who meant more to me than I ever got the chance to fully tell him. Someone who helped shape me, guide me, and show me what love, respect, and strength truly looked like. Danny, I don't know where to begin, because putting into words what you meant to me feels impossible, but I'll try. From the very beginning, you showed up. You were there. During my hardest moments, my confusion, my trials, you were someone I could go to, someone who listened, someone who guided me, someone who helped shape the man I'm becoming, and you were sure proud to do it. I remember asking you, why do firemen salute on the bridge overpass near the freeway? Now I know why. I just didn't think it would be you. We spent time together in the most simplest ways, but most meaningful. Hanging out, going out to eat, talking about life. Danny had this calm energy that made you feel safe. Unless he was driving, then you just prayed. Some of our best talks happened over drinks, and somehow Danny always turned into a motivational speaker. I didn't ask for a TED Talk, but I always got one. It was like Danny had a way of turning a regular drink into a full life lesson. Somehow every sip came with advice, just one after the other. But those moments weren't small to me. They were everything. They were safe. They were real. They were love. I want to be honest, at first, it wasn't easy between us. I gave you a hard time. I was protective. I was unsure. But then I watched how you treated my mom. I watched the love, the care, the respect you gave her every single day. I watched you bring out a side of her that was full of joy, warmth, and hope. You had her doing things she had never done before, laughing more, dreaming again, living again, and because of you, she believed in a love in a way that changed her forever. You didn't just love my mom, you honored her. You protected her, you took care of her, and seeing that, I had no choice but to respect you, to accept you, to love you. Somewhere along the way, without even me realizing it, you became more than my stepdad. You became a father figure, a role model, someone I looked up to. I never got the chance to call you dad, but I want you to know I wanted to. So today I say it now. Dad, I love you. Thank you for guiding me. Thank you for being there. Thank you for loving my mom the way she deserved. You may be gone, but your impact lives on in me and my mom and in everyone whose lives you touched. I'll carry you with me always. I love you, Dad.
Well, Mom, I'm here. You asked for it. All right, my name is Cravon Garrett. I work at Station 90. I had the honor of being Danny Cook's fire captain. In this job, rank matters, but trust matters even more. And Danny was someone that I had full trust in. I trusted him completely with our crew. I trusted him with our station. I trusted him during those times where things didn't always go as planned. And with Danny, that seemed to happen a lot. Standing up here today is Danny's crew. And I want you to remember that, Danny's crew, because it really means something. We got Jason Crawford, Jason Palmer, Jake Eves, and Todd. Todd's our rookie fireman. He's been doing a great job. Todd, what's your first name, man?
Ethan.
Ethan?
Ethan.
Yeah, we're just going to go with Todd on that one, all right? All right. These were Danny's people, and Station 90 was everything to Danny. When this crew first came together, I brought our guys into the office and I sat them down and I laid down my expectations for our crew. and expectations for our station. We were all new to the station itself at some point or another. Some of us were new to our position, some of us were new to the station, and some of us were new to the truck program. So we had a lot of ground to cover and some things we had to make up, us compared to the other side of the shift. Structure mattered. Routine mattered even more. So the plan was pretty simple. Start the shift with a full checkout of all equipment. Open every bag, start every motor, keep it rolling. By 10:30, I want to be in the gym. We're going to work out. We're going to work out as a crew. We're going to keep each other, hold each other accountable to that. On the way back from the gym, we're going to grab some groceries, maybe grab some lunch, head back. We're going to eat as a family. I usually gave the guys from lunch to 2 o'clock to handle things around the station. Just normal stuff, that hang out in the saw shop, catch up on some things, documentation, paperwork, carry reports, et cetera, right? By 2 o'clock, I wanted us out back, drilling and training no matter what. Smiles on faces, no excuses, positive attitudes. After training, the rest of the day belonged to the guys. And this is the time where, for me, it was station pride time. This is when you have your side projects of making this place better. I wanted the guys to have ownership in the station and ownership in the shift, because it's not just my shift, it's their shift. It's our crew as a whole, and we all reflect on each other. Cookie and the guys loved this plan. Even when I wasn't around, the days that I had to step away for classes, et cetera, they kept that program in line. They kept the program going. They stayed the course. They kept the ships going straight. Now, every once in a blue moon, I would be a little overwhelmed. I had a lot going on. Either I was writing a paper, preparing for a class that I was in, or teaching or something like that, and I was juggling a lot. So on those days, like the one I'm about to tell you about, I'd look across the breakfast table sometime around 7:30 in the morning, and I'd tell Danny, Cookie, take the helm. On those days, the crew would be split. I would get a very, very intense look from most of the guys because that meant Danny was going to be in charge that day. And on those days, it was fun. Half the table would look at me and say, "Dear God, what are you doing?" The other half would look at Cookie and say, "What are we in for today? It's going to be great." And usually they were right. Because by 9:45 in the morning, we'd still be at the kitchen table and sitting in front of breakfast. Our turnout gear would still be on the bay floor out in the bay. And no one had checked out any equipment, and Danny's on his 5th story that has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in the firehouse today. Eventually, someone would say, and on this particular day it was Crawford, "I guess we're not going to the gym today." Immediately, quick wit, Danny would fire back, "Fine, let's go do our checkout. Let's go to the gym, because all of a sudden you're a gym rat and you can't miss a workout." Didn't I see you and Cap eating a jelly donut this morning, Fatty? I'm paraphrasing because I can't say what he actually said right here on the stage. In the meantime, I'm wondering why I'm catching strays about donuts, but I'll let that go. So here we are starting our day. Fast forward, it's 1 p.m. We're just now finishing our checkout. And Cookie says, "Load up and let's head to the gym." Does this sound like him, Joanne? Immediately after he says, "Load up, let's head to the gym," Jake goes, "I'm hungry." And not in the adult voice like the 6'2" guy with the mustache that's very established sitting here in front of you would say. Like a 5-year-old, he would say, "I'm hungry," pout his lips and stomp his feet. When I say they are at an elite level of poking the bear, I mean an elite level. Between Palmer and Eves, they know how to get to that guy. So now Cook takes off on a 5-minute tirade about how firefighters are like toddlers and a bunch of words that, once again, I cannot say right here on the stage. After he's done with his spill, I calmly look at Cook and I say, "Hey, Cookie, just make a decision. What do you want to do? Cook goes, okay, all right, this is what we're going to do. Everybody bring it in. We're going to go to the gym. We're going to do a 30-minute workout. After the workout, we're going to grab some food because Jake has a tapeworm and it's winning. Later on, we'll hit the grocery store after training. Sound like a plan? All right, everybody load up. We head to the gym. We work out. Fast forward. It is now 8 o'clock at night. We got interrupted at the gym about 3 to 4 times. His 30-minute workout is now taking 3 hours. We've done 0 training today, and we never made it to the grocery store. We're sitting at the dinner table, and now it is dead silent. Not because we're angry, not because we're mad, because we are starving to death and we just want to eat. Not to mention we're eating the healthy alternative to dinner, a nice home-cooked meal, Wiener Schnitzels. I calmly lean across the table and I say to Danny, how do you think today went, Cookie? Slams his plate on the table, corn dog goes flying across the room, storms off into the back bedroom and slams the door. And that was what happened when Danny used to run the fire station for just a short bit. But here's the part that matters. Despite the chaos, despite the missed workouts, despite the flying corn dogs, when the tones dropped, Danny was locked in. On the radio, on scene, and under pressure, he was steady, he was sharp, and he led. He took care of his crew. He loved his job, and he took pride in what he did. Danny reminded us that leadership doesn't always look perfect. It doesn't always look loud. It doesn't always look messy. And sometimes it's just about showing up for you guys. Station 90 is not just a firehouse to us. Station 90 is our second home. And Danny was a huge part of why it was our second home and why it felt that way. We're better firefighters because of him. We're better teammates, and we're better people. Danny wasn't just my engineer, he was my right hand. And he will always be a part of our crew and a part of our station. So I'll say these words one last time. I know he's looking down as he's listening. Cookie, take the helm. Thank you.
Thank you all for giving us so many facets of Danny. I found myself sitting in that chair just thinking, I know that guy. I worked with that guy, so thank you so much. I've been asked by Danny's family to read the eulogy, and as I do, you're going to hear common themes of what you've already heard about who Danny Cook was. Today we gather to honor and remember fire apparatus engineer, paramedic Danny Cook, a son, a husband, a brother, a father, a friend, and a man whose life was defined by service, love, and heart. Danny dedicated 13 years and 5 months to CAL FIRE, but to say he worked in the fire service doesn't fully capture what it meant to him. Firefighting wasn't just his job, it was his calling. He respected the role, the responsibility, and the brotherhood that comes with wearing the uniform. He loved being a paramedic, loved helping people on what was often the worst day of their lives, and he took that responsibility seriously. Service was in his blood. Danny served at a lot of stations, including hazmat, and again, as we've heard, finally returning to Station 90. And he was especially known for his passion for auto extrication. He loved cutting things up, as he'd say, but more importantly, he loved doing the job right. He took pride in his medical certs and his accomplishments, always making sure he stayed on track, always pushing himself to be better for his crew and his patients. And he worked hard at getting all the certs that were possible, including hazmat, swiftwater rescue, tech rescue, and others. Danny was born on November 19, 1980, to Richard Allen Cook and Rowena Charlotte Cook. His father worked as a traveling salesman, often on the road, while his mother stayed at home with the kids. And Danny grew up full of energy, and as we've heard, humor, and what his family lovingly called shenanigans. From an early age, he had a spark, a curiosity, a mischief, and a big heart all rolled into one. There's a bridge named after Dan in Temecula called the Broken Arm Bridge. It's at Rancho California Road over the Murrieta Creek, and he ended up there with a double compound fracture on his arm after being hit by a vehicle. And his buddy Kyle was there to pick up the pieces, practicing paramedic skills at an early age. The bond Danny shared with his mother, Rowena, was unmistakable. He never left her without a bear hug and the words, "I love you." When she was asked what Danny would do if he had just 5 minutes to come back, her answer was simple and powerful, yelling as he came through the front door, "Mom, where are you?" Danny was a devoted brother to David and Mark. He loved them beyond measure and was deeply proud of the men that they had become. He often reminded them, "Take care of Mom." And to the younger generation, Danley was simply the best uncle, present, loving, and fully invested in every child he loved. Danny's early years took him through first grade at the Catholic Sacred Heart School in Anniston, Alabama. In second grade, he attended Vale Elementary here in Temecula, and in sixth grade, he started at Temecula Middle School, and he finished at Temecula Valley High School, where he graduated in 1999. And these are the family's words, barely. He didn't attend college, but he found his path early through service, becoming both a fire explorer and a police explorer in Temecula, experiences that laid the groundwork for the life he would ultimately live. Danny was a true people person. He never met a stranger. He could talk to anyone. He loved soccer, enjoyed journalism in school, and was passionate about football and hockey, especially when it meant watching games with his dad. Danny continued that tradition, the love of sports, with his kids. They attended the Rose Bowl one time with his dad, Frank, the godfather to all three boys, and Kate, Rowena's godchild. He practiced karate growing up. He loved dirt bike riding and spent countless hours riding with his close friend, Kyle Kramer. When Daddy was 14 years old, they took a trip to Moab for the downhill mountain bike races, and Danny loved that experience. And Danny and Kyle shared many adventures. Some of the best memories they had was the freedom to ride their dirt bikes and mountain bikes for every bit of the Temecula Valley, from Duluth to wine country while it was still uninhabited, if you can remember those days. And it was before cell phones, so Mom had no idea where they were. He lived in many places throughout his life. He was born at St. Joe's Hospital in Orange, and as you've heard, he was born with a heart condition, transposition of the greater vessels, and had surgery at 6 months old at Children's Hospital of Orange County. He was called a miracle baby. And at 5 years old, the family moved to Anniston, Alabama, where they welcomed another little brother. And when Danny was 8 years old, they moved to Temecula. And at 16, he went to work for a grocery store here in Temecula. At that time, it was called Vaughn's, and now it's Ranch 88. At 18, he started working at the Sterling Company, a memory care facility now known as Atria Park of Vintage Hills, and that work affected him deeply. He often came home with heartbreaking stories, carrying the weight of the people he cared for, a testament to his compassion and empathy. And after high school, he moved to Anaheim with his grandparents for 2 years. Wherever he lived, he built connections and community. Before and alongside his fire service career, Danny worked other jobs with Lynch Ambulance, a theater, at Disneyland. And at the center of Danny's life was his family. He was a proud father of Jason Everett Cook, who now lives in Tennessee, Shane and Aaron, and uncle to Riley, Katie, and Cody. A loving stepdad to Christian, Kavika and Karen, as well as a loving papa to Elena and Kai. He loved deeply and showed it through his time, his presence, and his affection. Those closest to Danny remember how much he valued quality time, affection, and family. And some of his favorite memories were made at Camp Land in San Diego. They also loved riding dirt bikes, Joanne on a quad. One memory was Danny on an old motorcycle that always took too long to kickstart, but family says he never gave up, and that persistence was pure Danny. His dad always said, JFDI, just focus and do it, and cooks never quit. His favorite book, Bulletproof Marriage by Adam Davis, reflected his respect for faith, commitment, and the unique challenges faced by first responders and their families. Joanne shared that she would tell him constantly, please come home to me, and he would reply, I'll always come home to you, baby. When Joanne was asked what Danny would say if he came back for just 5 minutes, his answer was simple and full of truth, which is the first thing he did when he got home. He would walk through the door and give me a long hug, and he would say, I love you. Let's go somewhere and plan a trip. Danny Cook lived with heart. He served with honor. He loved fully and without hesitation. His legacy lives on in the lives that he saved, the family he cherished, and the brothers and sisters who stood beside him in the fire service. Rest easy, fire apparatus engineer Danny Cook. We have the watch from here, and Danny now rejoices with his dad in heaven. And now I'd like to ask you to turn your attention to the screens for a video tribute for Danny. At virtually every memorial I attend, I find myself compelled to do at least two things. They seem to be natural, almost innate. It's to remember and to reflect. And I wonder if some of you, when you heard of Danny's passing, you didn't just start thinking about the things that you knew about Danny. You remembered him. Maybe some of you on the way here, you told Danny stories. Remembering, for me, it seems to reconnect me with the one I've lost. When I say remember, I'm talking about their behaviors, things they said, the stories we shared, their quirks even. You know, Danny often attended church here with his mom, Rowena, and his wife, Joanne. And I didn't know him well, but I could tell he was a firefighter. I just can spot that, having been one. And he had such a big smile on his face. And he had an awesome mustache. And I said to him, when I first met him, I said, dude, did CAL FIRE give that thing its own employee number? Because that thing is awesome. And that was especially, dear to my heart because my time in the fire service, we were living in the 1970s grooming standard, which it sounds like CAL FIRE and county were on kind of the same track changing that. And I spent most of my career, even as a chief, advocating that we should come into the, modern world and let firemen grow mustaches. And of course, though, the fire department is 150 years of tradition unimpeded by progress, so that didn't happen in my career. But as a pastor, I grew one in solidarity with all of you that are getting to grow great mustaches. And I got to tell you, it was awesome. I had it like really out there. My church was very concerned about what was going on with me. And my wife was even more concerned, hence the metro look I have today. The second thing I find myself doing when I come to a memorial like this, or am part of it, is to reflect. And when I say reflect, I mean on life, what's important. Because it sure seems like tragedy in particular causes us to give attention to things that we ignored before or put off. Things like the uncertainty of life, what our priorities are, our family, our friends, our faith. I wonder if it doesn't have that same effect on you. C.S. Lewis wrote, "Pain is the megaphone of God. God whispers to us in our pleasures, he speaks in our conscience, but he shouts in our pain." Our pain then can be, if not good, at least profitable. It's nothing that we would sign up for, but pain is often a prerequisite to introspection. Now, most of you probably don't know this, but Jesus Christ in the Gospels was asked 183 questions, and he only answered 8. And he himself asked 307 questions. And many of those questions were reflective in nature. Things like, do you want to be healed? Who was the true neighbor? Which of you, having 100 sheep, would not leave the 99 to go find the one? Who do you say I am? And so whether you're a person of faith or not today, I ask you to consider this reflective question Jesus once asked. It comes from Matthew's gospel. What good will it be for a person if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul? When you ask what good will it be, that indicates, as we all know, there are a hierarchy of priorities. Some things are more important than others. And then in the same question, Jesus juxtaposes these two things: gain the world, forfeit your soul. They're not necessarily in conflict with each other, but often they are. And the way Jesus put it, it was kind of an either-or proposition. And when he says forfeit your soul, in the Bible, the soul is the eternal part of us, but not solely that. The soul is the whole of us. We are in our entirety souls. And as you came here today, perhaps you came remembering, but also reflecting on what's important to you. And I can say, because Danny was a believer in Jesus Christ, I know he would want me to share 3 things with you. 1, that death is a reminder that the world is broken, and so are we. You know, the Genesis story of creation indicates that human beings were not originally designed with the capacity to experience death. But in the creation story, death enters the world through the brokenness of human beings, Adam and Eve. Secondly, God leans toward broken people, not away. It's been said that Christianity is the only religion that doesn't demand we clean up our act before we join. And Jesus himself, in explaining why he came, he said, it's not the well that need a doctor. And as a good shepherd, he would leave the 99 to find the one lost one. And he was often called, or better, accused of being a friend of sinners. Thirdly, God doesn't look for strong faith, only genuine faith. Jesus said, whoever believes in me will be a child of God. It's as simple as that. The gospel, or the good news, is that no one is so far from God that God's love cannot reach them, and no one is so good and perfect that they don't desperately need God's love in their life. And so if you came today thinking about faith, Danny would want you to know that heaven is not filled with perfect people, just humble people who realize that God loves them. Thank you.
We now move to Fire Department honors. And the firefighter's prayer will be read by Mark Kramer.
On the back of your pamphlet, there's a copy of the firefighter's prayer. You can read along with me. When I'm called to duty, God, wherever flames may rage, give me the strength to save a life, whatever be its age. Let me embrace a little child before it's too late, or save an older person from the horror of that fate. Enable me to be alert and quickly and efficiently put out the fire. I want to fill my calling, to give the best in me, to guard my friend and my neighbor and protect their property. And if according to your will, while I'm on duty, I must answer death's call, bless with your protecting hand my family and all.
Honor guard, ready. Honor guard, in on tap. Forward, march.
All stations, stand by for a final announcement. All stations, this is the final call for fire apparatus engineer Danny Cook. Throughout 13 and a half years of dedicated service with CAL FIRE, fire apparatus engineer Cook exemplified dedication, professionalism, and commitment to the fire service. He answered every call with courage, integrity, and an unwavering sense of duty. Fire apparatus engineer Danny Cook has completed his final assignment. His watch has ended. May he rest in peace, and may we honor his legacy by continuing to serve with the same strength, compassion, and devotion he demonstrated every day.
The firefighter's last alarm. The men and women of today's fire service are confronted with a more dangerous work environment than ever before. We are forced to continually change our strategies and tactics to accomplish our tasks. Our methods may have changed, but our goals remain the same as they were in the past: to save lives and to protect property. Sometimes this is done at a terrible cost. However, this is what we do. This is the chosen profession. This is the tradition of the firefighter. The fire service of today is ever-changing, but is steeped in traditions 200 years old. One such tradition is the sounding of a bell. In the past, as firefighters began their tour of duty, it was the bell that signaled the beginning of that day's shift. Through the day and night, each alarm was sounded by a bell, which summoned these brave souls to fight fires and place their lives in jeopardy for the good of their fellow citizens. When the fire was out and all the tasks had come to an end, it was the bell that signaled to all the completion of that alarm. When a firefighter died in the line of duty, paying the supreme sacrifice, it was the mournful toll of the bell that tearfully announced the passing of a fellow firefighter. We utilize these traditions as symbols which reflect honor and respect for those who have given so much and who have served so well. To symbolize the devotion that these brave souls had for their duty, a special signal of 3 rings, 3 times each, represent the end of a firefighter's duties and that they will be returning to quarters. Finally, to those who have devotedly given their lives for the good of their fellow citizens, their task completed, their duties well done. To fire apparatus engineer Danny Cook, his last alarm, he is going home.
Honor guard. Honor guard. Out on tap. Forward. March.
Will you bow your heads with me? Father, we come before you to say thank you for the life you gave Danny Cook. Thank you for the heart and mind you gave him so that he could carry out the things you purposed him for to do. Lord, we thank you for his calling as a fire apparatus engineer. Lord, he leaves behind family. He leaves behind his CAL FIRE family, his EMS friends, and all of those people that he has touched throughout the years. May everyone here experience your love and comfort as they live through those memories. And Lord, I pray that you use those in a very special way in all their lives. Lord, I know that in our hearts, there's a dark valley of grief. We ask you, Lord, that you let your light scatter our darkness. Comfort his family and co-workers that are left behind. And Lord, let your protecting hand be upon all active firefighters facing daily emergencies and challenges. Protect his family. May each person here search their hearts and realize the shortness of this life. And Lord, may they seek you. Father, we seek you today because you're the only one that can give us a heart of eternal hope and peace through your Son, Jesus Christ. And it's in his name that we pray, amen. On behalf of the Cook family, CAL FIRE, Riverside County Fire Department, CAL FIRE Local 2881, and all the agencies that participated there today, thank you for your attendance. When you are dismissed, you are invited to the reception, which will be located across the hallway. And please keep the Cook family in your thoughts and prayers at this difficult time. This is the end of the service. Please remain seated. It may be a few minutes and you will be dismissed. At this time, the Cook family, please stand, and you will be escorted by the CAL FIRE Local 2881 Honor Guard. All other guests, please remain seated. Again, we are asking that you remain seated until we dismiss you. Thank you. It may be a few minutes.